How's it going, everybody? JT here, along with Brian Smocovich from PistachioFi. Say hello to the world, my friend.
How's it going, everyone? Thank you so much for having me, JT.
Absolutely, man. This is going to be a really cool day. You were a moderator over on our Ethereum before the pack arrived from Ethfinance, and it's been one hell of a ride. And for the last, I feel like it's kind of biblical. I feel like it's been 40 days and 40 nights in Telegram, getting to know each other, and this is just a real sign of good things to come. I think merging these two communities together. And I found out that you have a project today called Pistachio that we're going to be talking about here in a little bit. So I don't know if you have any opening thoughts about this merge process. I know all of us kind of came in. We were brought in by Evan Van Ness, dropped off like kids at a public swimming pool, and then Mama left. Evan exited the building within 24 hours, and it's been a whirlwind. But I hope the feeling on your side of the camp is as excited as mine. It's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I was a big proponent of the merge of everything happening. There were only a few actually active mods at that time, and what felt like me drowning in scam and spam and trying to like tackle everything, and for you guys to come in and with the enthusiasm that you guys bring and the activity with how active that you guys are with being quick to remove things, and just in general the sort of engagement that you guys have brought in for the Ethfinance community is absolutely outstanding, man. So I've been very excited from the beginning about this, trying to bridge this and really unite the Ethereum community again in a place that has been considered, dead, and many other negative adjectives that I won't describe here on live. So it's good that we're moving forward, cleaning things up, and creating a stellar community for everyone to move forward with.
Yeah, it has been wonderful, and I'll tell you, as soon as we kind of got ninja'd in the door with Evan, I took a quick look at that moderator matrix, and you're right, it was just like there was like 3 or 4 people that had gloves and shovels going to work in there, and the rest it was just abysmally quiet from the stance of just interaction and action. So. For anybody that's in the audience that's an R Ethereum advocate and somebody that believes in Ethereum on Reddit as much as I do, I really hope that the R Ethereum subreddit can regain and get that traction of being a very cultivated place, a good garden for conversation, and we don't let the absurdist concerned trolls take over, or even really like the bot armies of, I'm going to just say it out loud, XRP or whatever, just to come in and just annihilate the discussions with spam and everything like that. We're working hard. I still believe Reddit is the best place for long form conversation, and it's good to be back in Mama's house. So anyway, it's really sweet that we were able to get this merge going, and I'm so glad that we were able to make it happen. Let me fix this overlay here since the phone went away. There we go.
Yeah, I decided just to remove it for now. When we do the demo later, we can do it, but rather give us the full screen real estate.
You got it. All right. Well, we'll get to you in a minute. We're going to go right into our intro. The Ethfinance Daily is now in the R Ethereum community on Reddit, and that's where the EVMavericks are, and they are hosting this happy hour for this day, January 3rd, the 93rd episode of the EVMavericks podcast. Give us a thumbs up, smash a bell wherever you are, and help us out. Quick shout out again, and thanks again to the Weekly Doots live stream. It's all about showcasing the best of the week from the Ethfinance community on Reddit. This is a read-along reaction series, and if you want to follow along, head on over to dailydoots.com, designed and produced by our very own Hanny Boo. Let's see, I lost my Zoom. There we go. Let me fix my Zoom. Bingo. Okay. It's a real professional organization we got here. Still, look at this. Shut off all the overlays. It's like totally screwed up. Let me back up. I'm going to redo this. Oh, there he is. Oh, it's so beautiful. All right, good. I'll squash this down here a little bit. All right. If you're watching my stream on a second window on Discord, make sure you mute that window to avoid any echoes. And as always, if you know somebody that wants a piece of this action, send them my way. Well, let's just go ahead and jump right in. We're going to hit our leaderboard here. The top 10 of this week. I got to refresh this. Henny Abu said he just got it refreshed and ready to rock. There's our change up in numbers. At number 10, Scientist at 90, Henny Abu at 101, Set One Less at 105, Crypto Currency at 108, 696 ETH at 111, Tricky Troll at 135, Harog climbing up as always at 140, Benito 2030 at 156, Logri the Bard sitting at 161. And Superfizz is at the top of the heap at 218. We have a total of 1,125 total duders, last updated today. All right, let's go ahead and jump into our opening. We got January 17th, Kate Lawrence from Blockcelerate. I'm still working on trying to get Anthony Sassano for the 10th. January 24th, confirmed DeFi Dad. January 31st, confirmed Justin Drake on Beam Chain. And I've also got a certified financial planner that's going to be joining us in February. And I'm going to try to get Ram Aliwalia back on in February. Again, I like listening to his takes on macroeconomical stuff. He's not just a crypto bro. He is into everything. All right. So there we go. Morning roundup on our Ethereum now. Frank the Tank chimes in. Ethereum Auspicious Ether chimes in at $3,438. I think we are up from that. $10.9 on that dismal ratio of 0.035. Uses Bink Video. This is a funny stat now. 3.5 million Ethereum subscribe. That's such a different number than we were used to just a week ago. And it says plus 5,000 accounts over the last 2 days. I'll bet. All right. And user Skew is saying 25K in 2025. That is absurdly bullish, but I guess we'll take it. Weekly Haiku, courtesy of JS Tears. Take some coping pill for all extra gas you spill. Tax return to fill. How does he do it? JS Tears, how does he do it? And it is Chota time. Clam Chota says, ETH, take my energy. And our ship post of the week, because we always like to save the best for first. We haven't reached $7,500 in 2024 based on my local time zone, Berlin time here in Germany. For this reason, I'm going to eat a Darjeeling tea bag, as I have stated. I have agreed with user Major Pickle 1 that I'm going to provide a logbook of my experience. Photos and videos are too risky because of doxing. And you know what? You know what it is here at the moment? 4:05, and thus it is tea time. I'm going to provide the logbook. Oh my gosh. He took a log of his experience eating a freaking tea bag because he lost a bet. Water's boiling. Put the hot water in the teacup with the bag, waiting 3 minutes. Keeps going. Tea bag's still too hot, waiting. Gonna try to chew on it. Oh dear, the bitterness. The bag material is very fibery. Oh no. Chewing on a third piece. That one was easier. Oh gosh, dog. This is okay. Now drinking Fujian Nade needle tea to compensate for my tea bag experience. Well, you know what? That is a pretty notable achievement there. Eating a tea bag because you lost the bet. I can get behind that. That's kind of a funny thing. Trying to remember what I did. I did something during the merge video. I was eating black licorice and drinking Lafroig scotch at the same time, which is not an ideal kind of situation, but I promised my Ethfinance bros at that time I would do it. Anyway, enough of that crap. Brian, we are here. We are now. PistachioFi is your baby. It's your self-custodial checking account. Tell us about this.
Awesome. What an intro, man. I love your energy. I just gotta say, one of the best things about this merge is you, and I think that was just before we get into Pistachio, I kind of want to like rap about this a bit. And I wasn't as familiar with the ETH finance community like when it was happening, and then when Evan like DM'd me to get it all down and looking into how you ran that community and everything. It was very energizing, and just even like hearing you now, we've had another a previous talk, and so just I love what you bring to it. And just another thing is I saw that the schedule this month is loaded, right? Between like Sassel and Drake. And I was making a joke to a friend of mine. I felt like Hannibal Buress at a Dave Chappelle stand up, right? Because one of the best concerts I've ever been to, it was like Dave Chappelle opened, and then it was like Chance the Rapper, Jon Stewart came out, John Mayer played, and then it was the Hannibal Buress opening, right? I'm just like the no one on the stage, like just like warming up for the month. So very, very thankful to be here and to chat with you about everything.
Well, thank you. I did. That's way too much praise. I guess overall, I bring that energy because I've always been this excited about back in the days, the original R Ethereum sub and ETH trader, and it was like, we're doing something pretty freaking special here, and I guess I just decided to make myself public, and it's been detrimental at times for a variety of reasons due to hacks. But I just felt like, gosh, not enough people know about the quality of the people in this subreddit. And the Doots idea and the whole idea behind this podcast and the ethos is really culturally driven by the community. There was just there was a thirst for making a walled garden so people could really concentrate on bringing our best forward and supporting the best externally. And so there's a team of people that run this. Hanny Abu does dailydoots.com. Tricky Troll does the Daily Doots. The A-Word does the Weekly Doots. We've had plenty of help from other people at times trying to gather information. I get to do this, and it's a joy. It's a bit of work, but I enjoy doing it. And so I feel like we have a real opportunity on our Ethereum to express what our Ethereum can be through the lens of the Ethfinance culture as a catalyst. It's kind of like throwing a turbo on a lawnmower engine for now, and then it's going to become a car, and then it's going to become a bullet train, and it's just a matter of process. And you stroke the people who really put the content out there. I mean, that leaderboard, to get on that leaderboard, it's not just a shoe-in, but there's 500 people that have been on there twice, and then you go on up the list, and the number of people that have been on there like 20 times. It's all very subjective, but it's at least trying to identify the people that are resonating. And of course, having that little useful tool that Hanny made on GitHub that people can plug into their browser, and they can see those Doot scores in real time as they're scrolling through the daily. If you start seeing, hey, this guy's a Dooter number 6 or a 10 or what, that's substantial. That's good, like street cred and whatnot. And there's people that get dooted that are bearish. We welcome a lot of constructive conversation.
Yeah,
The
love
big
that you guys promote the active contributors. It's what we should be doing in this space: promoting the active contributors, promoting the builders, promoting the people who are giving back to the ecosystem and helping to champion it.
Yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. And so if there's any questions anybody has, you can put them in the chat as we talk with Brian about PistachioFi, and of course on YouTube. I'm watching out here. It looks like Philip says, shout out to JT the teacher. Well, I did teach for 18 years. I'm no longer teaching in the role of an elementary school building. I just changed to a different group of 5-year-olds who I call friends on Reddit. So let's talk about Pistachio, man. When did you start this, and where do you want to go with this? Do you want to do a little history lesson of what inspired you to make it, or do you want to start with what it is?
No, I would like to talk about the history. I would love to, because it's a story that I feel like really illustrates about why I'm building it and how we got here. And it's funny because back in like 2017-ish, I was working for a company called Block Apps. If you're not familiar with it, it's they were doing like private grade enterprise grade Ethereum built in Haskell, and I worked for Kieran James Lubin, Joe Lubin's son. And during that time, I didn't really love what I was doing because it was like enterprise grade Ethereum, and I really wanted to be in like the public blockchain, right?
Mm.
And I had this like theory, and I would like mention to Kieran sometimes, like, what if we just built like an on-chain bank? Like, why is no one building these on-chain banks? There was like Nexo at the time, but they were all very custodial, right? I mean, entirely custodial. And so it was like, why is no one building this sort of, and at the time, it was just because the infrastructure was not there, right? It was very hard to build anything like that. And so the desire to sort of build a better wallet and on-chain banking system was lit. The embers of that were lit in me quite a long time ago. And so when I ended up going to DevCon in Bogota a little over 2 years ago now. And at that time, I participated in my first hackathon. And we built a sort of an app called Portal, which was meant to be like the WeChat of Web3, right? Like bringing like the best use cases into like one sort of wallet. And the two people I did the hackathon with ended up not wanting to like advance the project anymore, and like we stalled out completely, right? For at least 3 or 4 months. And I moved to Mexico City at the time, and one of my friends was building and just trying to build whatever he could on his own. And I was very driven at the time to just want to build something, right? Something in the public Ethereum ecosystem to give back to Ethereum and to elevate the Ethereum user experience. And so I basically, my friend was like, why don't you just continue to build what you wanted to build, right? Like you were very passionate about it. You kind of talk about it all the time. Why don't you learn how to build it and do it? And so, because most of my background is like finance, banking, consulting based, and sales and marketing based. And so I didn't really have the experience for as much of like being in like an on-chain builder. And I taught myself UX UI design solely so I could like bootstrap the project and really get it going. And so around that time, it was like February 2023, I started to just teach myself UX UI design and built out the like V1 of the app. Right now, the UI itself is probably on like V4 because we've like scrapped it and just reiterated everything over and over and over. And we got to the point when in April, I had what I wanted to build, and I needed someone to build it, right? Because me learning how to code at that time was just going to be too slow for how I wanted to do this. And a friend at the time was like, "Man, you have to talk to Kyle. He's like the fastest dev I know. He's so incredible." He's like, "I wish someone would just pay him." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, maybe I should pay Kyle." And so I reached out to him, just like in like a sneaky little DM, be like, "Hey, man, I want to build this. I want to build a better wallet experience, you know." And but this was before we sort of wanted to become like an on-chain self-checking account. Um, and at that time, it was just a better wallet, right? And so I pitched him the vision about what we wanted to do and like the initial UI and everything. And he's like, okay, I love this idea. Why don't we get and do this? And we started off with just really building an MVP, kind of like on a contractual basis before a few months of being like, no, let's do this as like the full-time thing, right? Let's do this as a project. Come on as my CTO, and we're going to be partners in this. And so since then, we've been building. So, right, we started basically building the back end of the infrastructure back in April 2023, as I mentioned. And it's been definitely a challenge, right? So, to kind of give a 5,000 foot view or 50,000 foot view of the product and what we're building, it's a self-custody checking account that's mobile first, right? And so historically, Web3 mobile is very difficult to build. There's a lot of lack of standardization when it comes to things. Honestly, that's probably one of the biggest challenges that when it comes to building this, right? Like the infrastructure over the last 2 to 4 years through the last bear market really improved a lot for helping builders be able to get to this point. And so we wanted to basically build a mobile first solution of all the bleeding edge technology that was being released within Ethereum. And so this involves like MPC key stores for keeping things self-custodial but making them easy to recover. account abstracted wallets for smart accounts to provide gasless transactions, um, cross-chain swaps, right, and all these types of things that people have been complaining about for ages, right? Like token approvals, just all the myriad of UX problems that we've seen throughout the last 8 to 9 years that people have been publicly complaining about in Reddit and Twitter and everywhere, that finally we have been able to build. And so we're at the point when we have built this entire app, and a little later we'll definitely do a little demo where we have, seedless onboarding. You can onboard in less than 60 seconds. We make it purposely a little longer because there's some stuff that we have to take care of, right? But you get on and you can on ramp in like over 130 different currencies. You can on ramp directly to layer two networks. We're a big proponent of layer two networks, right? Because that's where we want users to be in order to have lower gas. But also where we have our gasless transactions, right? We sponsor all peer-to-peer transactions from within Pistachio. And so we're kind of like an international Venmo in that way. And all of that already works, which is really awesome. Instead of sending me your public address or this, no, you have a username, send me your username, and I can send you a gasless free transaction on any L2 that we support. Our goal, we support like 4 or 5 L2s right now, but our goal is to support the top 10, 15 L2s in a way that like your balance as well doesn't show 10 different Ethereums. We all roll it up into the UI and make it really nice and easy for the user to see. And um, it's nice, man. So basically we wanted to just create this experience that was also more akin to like a traditional Web 2 UI in a way. It's like you'll see, you guys will see the UI is very different from, let's say, like MetaMask, Rabby, um, even Phantom Wallet, right? It's much more simple, much more akin to like the traditional Web 2 interface, Web 2 interfaces. And it's basically a wallet that you trust to onboard like your brother, your mother, your sister, like your immediate family onto, where they don't have to understand NPC, account abstraction, gas, and all this stuff. We abstract away as much as possible, and then the things we can't abstract away, we have like help tips from within the app that like help people and guide them in order to like understand how to use it, right? And so it's basically you have the very quick onboarding. You can onboard in, I mentioned, 130 different currencies, which is really cool. We're going to have onboarding, on ramping and off ramping. We basically aggregate 20 different ramps, and so we can give you the best fees at all times for whatever currency you want to like buy or sell on. We have a way to connect to your existing centralized exchange accounts or your existing wallets to create a secure connection, to do a free deposit to the wallet if you want to. Um, we have vaults, which is going to be really cool. So we have integrated DeFi. We're bringing the use cases to the users, right? And this is actually going to be a very cool use case going forward. Is we've partnered with Plume Network, who they're a layer two built on the Arbitrum network. I think eventually they may make their own L1, but what they do is they bring real world assets on chain, right? So like gold, silver, equities, private credit markets, stuff like that. And the idea is we're going to have a curated list of on chain vaults, permissionless vaults, so permissionless, right? So likely won't require KYC unless under very specific jurisdictions. But the idea of being able to invest in high yield, real yield, curated investment options. And so let's say if you're not a trader, right, and if you're done at the end of the day, at the end of the bull run, when you're migrating to stablecoin and you want to protect your assets, right, we're going to have a very easy way for you to basically onboard and put your assets in both crypto correlated and non-crypto correlated yield generation mechanisms to be able to like grow and protect your wealth. And then also later on this year, we're planning on introducing on-chain credit cards. And so you'd be able to just like it's a checking account bank replacement, right? The closest thing that maybe exists right now, there's like Coinbase Wallet and Gnosis Pay. I think Gnosis Pay is probably a very good comparison, except we're going to be like more so EVM focused, like on Ethereum and all that layer twos, as opposed to Gnosis, which runs its own layer one. So I'll stop there because I feel like I just ranted for a little while.
there's like so much to unpack there. I do see we got quite a few people in the audience, and if anybody wants to unmute on Discord and ask any questions at any time, that's great. This do you know who Ryan Berkmans is from Three Cities? Have you ever heard of his project? He deprecated it, I believe, but he was like a global payments guy, and this kind of feels similar. I'll send him to you in chat. He's on Twitter, 3cities.xyz. I don't know if the URL is still working.
We had him on the podcast.
Yeah, he was on our podcast. Low Greed, does that sound eerily familiar to some of the
some of this? So we had a conversation on the underlying transmit of money problem, right? So you have the sender that wants to send money in one form, the receiver that wants to receive it in another form, and your identity is no longer just your 0x address. It's a 0x address plus a chain ID, right? At the very least. And you might have to make multiple bridges and swaps along the way in order to get the money from the sender to the receiver, right? And that is basically what Three Cities was trying to write the underlying infrastructure for. And I was like, well, this sounds a lot like a swap. I have something I'm trying to get to, which is the end of the swap, and I have something I'm trying to start from, which is the start of the swap. What's the difference between this swap and the payment system, right? And a lot of it had to do with the sender as a different identity, and it was going to have to cross-chain times. And there's this sort of like inventory of not just a single output that they want. I don't just want to swap USDC for ETH, but I have a set of candidate outputs that the receiver is willing to receive. They might be willing to receive DAI or USDT or USDC on any of these 5 chains and get me the best route that you can given those constraints, right? And so it becomes this kind of like planning problem where you're trying to find a route across all the L2s and all the DEXs and get the most output you can to the receiver. And also it was like, usually we have a minimum amount out, but with payments, you have an absolute amount out. So rather than trying to figure out, get me the most I can, I'm willing to spend 5,000 USDC, it's get 100 USDC to him while try to minimize the amount of ETH I spend, right? It kind of inverts the problem there. And so it was a different enough problem, or, different enough constraints on the problem that it actually was quite a bit of machinery under the hood in order to solve that routing and planning issue.
So I love that. We handle this quite well, actually. So one of the things that we have integrated, we're a big, I consider us like an aggregate of the aggregators, right? And so one thing that we have in the app is Leafy. If you're not, I always want to say Li-Fi, but it's Leafy. And whenever I talk to them, like, it's not Li-Fi, okay. And so if you're not familiar with it, they do like cross-chain swaps and bridging and aggregate it, right? And provide you with all these different quotes for whoever's going to provide you with the best route. And so one of the things that you can do within our app is you can swap and bridge and then also send to someone else all within the same transaction, because we use account abstraction and we do bundling, right? It's not like you have to like wait and do everything. You can basically, let's say you have Ethereum on Arbitrum and you want to send USDC on Base to your friend. Within the app, you can go into the swap and then choose whatever asset you have, choose whatever asset that they want to receive it in. And then you can also, right now, you have to manually put in the address, but we're going to make it so where you can just look up their username and then within one transaction, and also we abstract away all token approvals via Face ID. And so without even a token approval, you do a quick Face ID, boom, and then it does the swap and send all within the same transaction. And so everything that you basically mentioned is handled as long as we support the L2s that everything's happening on.
Would that be similar to, let's just say, I've got a friend in Mexico and I send him, on my side, it looks like US dollars, but on his side, it looks like pesos. And it's just handled, the conversion, everything.
No, right. So because right now we don't touch fiat, right? Because
no,
we're
I'm saying, but
self-custodial.
in terms of like, just I'm using a metaphor or an example or illustration. So okay, so I want to send.
Well, still,
yeah,
you're like choosing both the assets that you want to like start and send in,
got
right?
it.
It's not like what they want to receive in. It would
Gotcha.
be up to the initiating user to basically choose, do they want to, but also they could just send the ETH on Arbitrum, right? And then it's a free transaction because it's gasless.
Gotcha. That's That's cool. Like just sending as a username and abstracting away all that. Okay, now I got to look up their, their ENS or whatever and copy that out of Etherscan. That's cool. So since it's taking place on a mobile device, if you have a contact list, it'll integrate with your phone's contact list, I'm assuming, and ability to send to phone numbers in your contact list, same kind of idea.
It will. Apple's initiating like some constraints around that to make it tougher. We're going to make it so that it doesn't like pull in anything automatically. We're going to prompt the user to be like, hey, if you give us access to your contacts, we can like mix and match for you and show you which of your contacts are already on Pistachio, so you can like find them easier. But it's not. We won't automatically pull your contacts to preserve privacy.
And the idea of going mobile first is that I'm assuming is just going to be easier from a deployment issue, and it's also what most people use in their daily life for payment and transactions in person.
Well, it's significantly harder from a deployment issue.
Harder,
like it's
okay.
It's real. Like deploying to mobile's a pain in the ass.
Gotcha.
Just like in general, building in mobile, and especially building in React Native so that we can push to maintain the same code base to both Android and Apple at the same time, because we want to support everyone. But it's the distribution play, exactly as you mentioned, right? It's because the future of I don't know, not just finance, but just the world, right? Everyone's on their phones.
Yes.
And if we want to reach the next billion users, and I'm not saying that we're going to onboard 1 billion people. I personally hate it when people always say that, right? Maybe the only people that can legitimately claim that at this point is Coinbase. But if we want to onboard millions of people, we need to reach them where they are, right? And creating a system of like desktop applications that you can connect to the wild, wild west of crypto and scour the internet for thousands of different yield opportunities is too much cognitive overload for the average person, right? And I think that like a lot of people in crypto, for better or for worse, are very intelligent, right? Like I love going to crypto events because they're some of the smartest people I've ever met. The problem with
I made good barbecue at crypto events. That's about it. I like bringing the smart people together. That's why I'm hosting this podcast.
Yeah, no, it's so humbling sometimes talking with so many of these people.
Kidding.
It's incredible. But so like I think we miss the forest for the trees, because like we think that sort of like the average person has like the same intelligence. And it's just like not the case. Like most people don't, it's too much. It's just too much for the average person. I've tried onboarding so many friends who just like get to the seed phrase part and just like close it, like, nah, I can't do this, or whatever it is. Or my dad's a really good user tester for me, because he has a very short fuse. And so if he gets like frustrated and pissed, then it's like a good example that the UX here is like too difficult. And so like we need to significantly dumb down this shit. Sorry, I don't know if I'm allowed to curse. I sometimes accidentally do.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
Okay. And so we need to significantly dumb down how we do things, right? With everything, and I while trying to maintain the core ethos and principles of self-custody and Ethereum and everything that comes along with that, right? Cryptography and privacy. And so it's a really hard problem, I think, historically, that was to solve. That like now we've been seeing applications that are either in development or being released soon that can do this, but there's still like I see people who claim that they're doing this, and like I use the app, and it's still like the jargon they use is still very very like Web3 focused, and like, man, cut that out. You know, like we have to translate, we have to standardize the vernacular that we use so that we're not talking about this like really Web3 niche words, and instead using words that just normal people understand and comprehend, and that can like that they use on a daily basis, right?
You think the average person understands non-custodial? Like,
yeah, right. Like they that's probably the most technical word that we have on at least on that website.
No, you're right. I'm in my real world, like side hustle. I call it a side hustle. It does as well as a full-time job for me as I do DJ work. And I realized I realized like nobody uses Word documents anymore, so I had to stop using Word documents for brides and grooms to fill out their information. So then I moved, like now it's like on Google Docs, which is still better. But then I get replies from, these are early 20 somethings are like, well, I've filled it out the best I could on my phone. They're not even touching computers, a lot of people these days.
Yeah. There's a real problem in tech companies right now. So you get like Meta's closing down their internship program entirely because of some of this, where they get people that like don't know how to install Git, don't know how to like clone a repository, don't know how to set up an SSH key, like don't understand how a Windows Explorer system or how file directory systems work. Like these are supposed to be people in college or computer science, right? That can do a coding interview, and they don't know practically how to use a computer because they're always on these consumption first devices like your iPads, right? Your phones. They're not meant for authoring content. And so the UX of them doesn't force you to understand like where you are creating your content, where it's living, right? And the directory and permissions and stuff on it, right? Like they don't have to think about security within their own device for the most part. So, and that's where we're heading. I think that technical proficiency or competency or people who really understand what's going on is going down sharply in the next generation, because it hasn't been like, they didn't have to figure this shit out to, like figure out virtual RAM from a disk in order to load some early image of Kyrandia or something, right? Like it's just, we learned this stuff because we had to. Like, I was learning about like memory segmentation because I was trying to get Diablo 2 map hacks to work. It wasn't for the most noble of reasons, but nonetheless, it taught me a lot, right? And they don't have to do those things, so they just don't know it because they've never had to learn. But I hear your point of the technical proficiency is going down. You have to meet people where they are. We have to get a lot of the technical Web3 specific words out of there, like that parlance, lower the barrier to entry and get it something that's closer to Apple Pay with a 10% savings rate. Like, okay, like people can understand that much. It's when you start getting into, people have a hard time with like two-factor auth. And that is generally pretty widespread today, right? Like there's a lot of applications that support that. But still, my mom would have a hard time with it. She just doesn't get it, right? And she's the exact same person that would be using the same password in 20 places, or worse yet, having the password file uploaded to Google Drive because she can never remember anything.
We actually don't use passwords for that reason. We do one-time passwords, right, where you sign in either with your email or SMS, something that you have custody over, right, that you're never
proof that you have access to wherever we're about to send the confirmation to. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. We make it very, if you're you, it's basically, it's like multi-layered. So it's like if you get SIM swapped, they can't access your account, right? But it's like two to three layers of authentication. If it's you, it's actually very easy to sign in. It takes like 30 to 60 seconds. But if it's not you, just like piling on these like easy layers of identity proof makes it like impossible to hack you.
I want to
I like how Argent Web Wallet's doing some of the stuff there where they do two-factor auth before the password, and if you meet the two-factor auth, they send you a encrypted private key shard. And then you type in a password, and that's the decryption of the shard. So they have recovery basically, where they have some like a Shamir key on their end. And if you ask for recovery, there's a lengthy process that enables it. But for the most part, just a simple password is enough to generate your private key from that system, right? Two-factor auth the password, and you log in, and now you have the ability to sign new transactions, and you can do that on any device. You can go to a brand new web browser computer you've never been to before, didn't carry around a ledger with you, go to a website, boom, right, and you're good to go. You just have to have your two-factor auth like from your phone with you, which is basically just proof of possession of a device, right?
Exactly. And they've done some really good stuff. I really like the Argentine. I used to use their wallet quite a bit, and I can see how they're trying to push the industry forward with UX UI. We do things slightly different, but definitely give my flowers and kudos to them for trying to solve these problems.
I want to make sure that
we need like 15 attempts at it, right? We need to have a lot of innovation, then just have a best of breed approach, right? Or something starts to form as a standard because it's winning, because it's the best UX, the one that's most suited the use case, the one that meets people where they are, which is what you're trying to do. So I hope that's not just them. I hope that Gnosis comes along with their own thing. There's a bunch of people that are trying to make their own wallet right now, right? And so I think there's going to be some innovation on that UX side in the next year.
Yeah, from what I understand though, Gnosis is trying to more so they want to be the infrastructure for everything. Talking to their team, they like their app, but I think they more so built it just because no one else had built it, and they're like, why is no one doing this, right? And they wanted to basically like prove the use case. And so they're going to be really cool people to work with. Like if you're building a product like mine or even similar, like they have. I'm shilling my competition here. This is what you get with working with Pistachio, right? But they provide like IBANs for people, and they want to basically they have this infrastructure where if you are a self-custody solution, they can give you your own like IBAN solution for like supporting like European banking standards.
Very good. I want to make sure we get King in here. King had his hand up in chat. If you want to unmute, go ahead.
Hi, Smokes. How you doing? All right. Please indulge these thoughts off the top of my nut, if you will. I'll start with a terrible joke. So, non-Web3 native onboarding. You spoke about this a little while ago. Many of my friends, colleagues, that when I got into crypto, that told me crypto was a scam, and then asked me what I was doing on my phone playing games that were earning crypto, and thought that was wild. And now, interestingly, now buying crypto using their vaults in Revolut. So they're rounding up their purchases to the nearest pound, and the additional of that purchase going into a vault. Sorry to like mansplain that, but just in case anyone didn't know, vaults in Revolut to buy crypto at daft fees on Revolut. So these same people that a few years ago saying that crypto is a scam are now telling me I'm buying Cardano and XRP and blah 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 with a couple of clicks on my phone, where they pay daft fees to buy and daft fees to sell, and as far as I understand, not a very good market prices, etc. But Revolut laughing all the way to the bank because they've made it simple for the normies, if you will. It's just another tab in something in an app they were already using. Then they started splashing it across their home screens, their marketing, etc., etc. I wondered what you thought about this and how you might engage with these types of people who have now got an interest in crypto, and especially with the kind of promises from your product of it being cheaper, better, wider, from what you can do. I loved you using Wild West of crypto. It's scary, it's overwhelming, full of jargon, and then just coming into land. Funny that JT said he doesn't use Word docs anymore. I'm here already having typed a page and a half of notes on Microsoft Word already. And yes, also someone mentioned Diablo 2. How much Magic Farm items can you stack whilst leaving space for an item? Also playing far too much Path of Exile 2 Alpha at the minute. Amazing game. Thank you for bringing me in, and that is my TED Talk. Thank you.
Bravo.
I love
thanks.
that. Yeah, what a character, man.
I found King over in the Palisades Discord. We got a few Palisades members in here, so thanks, King. There was a few comments in there, but yeah, engaging the types of people that are talking about XRP and Cardano. What do you say with that stuff?
Well, let me yeah, it's a very, very, very good question. And so we're definitely more ethos aligned with the crypto industry, right? Being like crypto native and everything, where I feel Revolut in itself, one, extortionate fees, right? Two, I believe it's custodial. I'm not sure if they have initiated the ability to be non-custodial too, but I feel like within Revolut, crypto is like a second-class citizen. And what we're trying to build really is like on-chain first, crypto native focused. And so obviously we want these people, we want these types of users. And so first, and there's a few things to definitely address here. Our fees will be way more competitive, right? I'm not even sure what Revolut takes, but I know our fees will be more competitive. As far as ramping goes, we have like the best ramping fees in the market. On ramping is somewhere between 1% to 3%, depending on the method that you use. You can pay an Apple Pay, Google Pay, direct bank account transfer. Off ramping, I believe, will only be 1%. And that's not. We actually Pistachio takes 0% on that. We actually give as much as we can to the user. The fees come from the ramp providers themselves, which we have no power over. Hopefully, as we get more users, we can negotiate that down and give them even better rates. but I'm not trying to take any money from the user on the on and off ramp. Swap rates were also going to be highly competitive, and we have a more extensive support system, right? Than these non-crypto native apps, right? Where we're going to support all the layer twos, and we're going to have a DEX built into the app where we can basically support any Ethereum native token. Our fee on that is going to be 0.25%, which I believe is highly competitive, right? MetaMask takes 0.85%, Phantom takes 0.85%, Rainbow takes like 1.15%, which is they're also very, very high, right? Because their business model revolves around swaps. That's their main income, and that's not going to be our main source of income. And then another competitive option that we have are these earning vaults, right? That again are permissionless and not owned by us, right? And so we partner with like the best, the most mature people in the ecosystem, and everything's on chain, everything's permissionless. And so much more in that spirit of being crypto native, right? And then as far as support goes for like Ripple and Cardano, this is definitely something I've wrestled with, because right now we're like EVM only, right? The wallets that we create are account abstracted wallets. We onboard the user actually directly into the smart account. We like create the wallet for them when they sign up. The EOA wallet is abstracted away. You can turn it on if you'd like to, in like your advanced settings, you can like enable it so you can like have access to the core wallet. But just like when you onboard, you don't see it, right? To make it like easier for the user. And so we're starting with like Ethereum only for everything. And then I'm thinking about incorporating other chains. I think that if we do incorporate another one, it would be Bitcoin, right? We basically have native Bitcoin wallets. And then if we decide to do a third chain, most likely it would just be Solana for the adoption. And then within that, what would be really cool is cross-chain swaps, because LiFi, again, does not just Ethereum chains, but they do Bitcoin and Solana as well, right? I believe they use Thorchain for Bitcoin. I'm not sure what they use for Solana, but the idea is you would then have decentralized swaps and bridgings, not just between Ethereum and its L2s, but also between Bitcoin and whatever other networks that we decide to host at the end of the day. There's definitely some loss of the people who want to buy Ripple and Cardano. We'll see if enough of our users demand it, right, and they want those sort of integrations, then I would be happy to like look into that and seeing about getting that on. But unless there's like demand from the users, we're just not putting resources towards that, because
well, I don't know why
just want to really quickly clarify. I only use those as examples. ADA and XRP just as examples. They'll buy ETH, they'll buy anything. I probably should have clarified that. I was just throwing anything in there, but they'll buy anything on there. Sorry, sorry.
That was a top signal. Kraftwerk is right there. My nephew just called me. He's like, my friend bought XRP. He said, and I quote, because they're getting ready to do international banking transitions. And I replied to him for the 9th year in a row. All right, True Miller's got a couple of questions here. Rec has questions. Rec, do you want me to read it out? Or do you want to?
I love it.
Okay, so these are in the chat on the public voice channel. Rack says, how is this different to what MetaMask offers for the people who only use that today? And he's just wanting to learn here. And then to expand on that, in the MetaMask extension, you can perform swaps. The same with the mobile app. You could also store your stable coins there. Is this mainly focused on the UI rather than the functionality? And that is courtesy of Rack.
So it's everything that MetaMask does and more, essentially, right? I believe it's a better UX UI. It's easier to understand. It's easier to navigate. It's also a smart wallet as opposed to an EOA, an externally owned wallet, which is what MetaMask has. And so what that means for the users is where in MetaMask you have to do multiple transactions if you want to do like a bridge, right? Or like a bridge and a swap. You have to do token approvals. You don't have actually any automation if you want to enable it. Excuse me.
Bless you.
And our wallet, thank you. And our wallet by default can do these things. Because our wallet by default is a smart account wallet, like we're going to enable automations that will let you do like on-chain DCAs, that will let you do like if you want to put like stop orders in, or, stop limits, buy orders and certain things, right? We can enable, like if in the future if we decide to have an AI agent, right, that like you can give control to the account if you wanted to like trade for you or put into plain text like, hey, Pistachio, please swap for me, this for this, and it can do it just because it has control over the account. And so the base level of technology we've implemented and made simple for the user allows us to be much more expansive. And so not only do we do swaps, we have a few other cool really features in there. We have, free peer-to-peer transactions, which MetaMask doesn't do. We also have end-to-end. We have on-chain end-to-end encrypted messaging, which I just saw float across the screen. And so that's like, where Telegram is not encrypted, right? In Telegram, they have like the back end key to access all of your stuff if you really wanted to. What we do is we create a second private key that's stored locally in your phone. And so if you lose your phone, you can recover the main account with like your money, so your money's never lost, but you actually won't be able to recover your chat key. And this is done intentionally, which makes it sort of like a burner chat, right? So your chat is incredibly private, like because there's nothing to ever be hacked from it. And so the only people that can read that is you and the person you're sending it to, right? Like us as Pistachio, we don't have the encryption key. We don't have the encryption key to decrypt the messages and look at it. And so it makes it even like a much safer sort of like uh, similar like to Signal or something, but built in within the UX UI, right? Also, MetaMask, a big difference is MetaMask and Rabby, for example. I much actually prefer Rabby over MetaMask. I'm a big Rabby user. I think the UX UI is much better. But like a big difference, what we do, we sort of like flip the approach on its head, where Rabby is is your access point, right? It's where you keep your funds, and then it allows you to connect to 1,000, 10,000 different websites. And from within those websites, you have to find the yield generation opportunities or whatever it is that you want to do. We keep things much more simple and we make it easier for the user, where instead of like going out into the wild, wild west and looking for these yield generation opportunities, we find the uh, most mature platforms that give you real high yield and bring those into the app itself. And so whereas like MetaMask, you have to, especially on mobile, the UX is quite janky, right? Because you have to go to the Explorer, then you have to connect your wallet to that page. Everything within our app is in-app, right? And so there's no like external wallet connection. It's just, here's the vault. I'm going to press deposit, and we also abstract away the gas for deposits and withdrawals. And so you can just like without the need for like Ethereum for gas, just like instantly deposit to any of the vaults that we have.
I want to make sure that True Miller, by the way, thanks so much for that response to Rex's questions. That was very comprehensive. True Miller is also a Palisades member. True Miller, if you got a couple questions, hit it.
Yeah, sure. So kind of in a different vein of talking about Pistachio, I was more interested on kind of your guys' privacy policies, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people look over with things like MetaMask and Rabby. They're full of trackers and things like that. So I was wondering whether Pistachio would have a position on, for example, not collecting user IP data and building models around users, and not sharing that sort of stuff with, for example, subpoenaing federal agencies and things like that. But yeah, I'd be interested to hear about that, because if it's the case that you guys are kind of leaning more towards offering this private app, then would surely move everything over to Pistachio. So.
Hell yeah, man. Amazing question, by the way. So first, you can actually see our privacy policy on our webpage if you want to read through it. It's, and we let it's there. When you sign up for the app as well, there's a privacy policy and terms of service that you have to accept. And then to answer the actual question of it, we collect certain data, right? And like we collect user. If you're familiar with something called Mixpanel, what that allows us to do is we can go in and like basically tag the user journey. And that data is solely to understand like how users interact within the app to like, do you press on this button or do you press on this button? Where's the fall off? Where's the conversion? And that data, like what are our monthly active users? How much money are we making? Like that sort of data is purely for the betterment of the app, right? For like the UX UI, and will never be sold. The IP data is very specific, right? We don't collect IP data, but we do have certain IP instance, like we do an IP check for certain things. And that's solely for like OFAC sanction reasons, because we're like a US domiciled country, and the way that this works, we cannot be active in OFAC sanctioned countries, just like straight up. And I know that's not the ideal ethos, crypto ethos, unfortunately, but like I don't want to go to jail. And so that's the rule number one, is always right, don't go to jail. And so, but there's no like IP collection. There's no like, we're not doing any sort of like data on that. We use maybe like, where are our users coming from, right? Like how many users do we have from each country? But that's strictly it. We also like, there's IP instances for tagging when we're gonna do not the credit card. When we do when you do on-ramping, when you want to go to on-ramp, it checks your IP in order to give you the fiat that most likely you're using, right? So if I sign into the app from Mexico, it'll prompt me, it'll nudge me towards using the Mexican peso as opposed to the US dollar, right? And so that's where we use IP data for. And just to kind of in a similar vein, I know you didn't ask this, but I might as well. I feel like I want to just be like transparent about it. And so when it comes to like KYC, right? Like to get on the app, you don't have to KYC because it is self-custodial. There will be certain instances though that you would need to KYC if you want to use the feature, and that's specifically with on-ramping and off-ramping, mostly because that's just legally how things are, right? Like if you want to use those things, but it's also minimal. It's minimal KYC. Like you can buy crypto with like your name and email, and that's it. Like you don't need to provide ID up to like certain amounts. Like if you're trying to buy like $10,000-$50,000 worth of crypto, I believe they're going to do more rigorous KYC. But if you're doing like $500 a month, it's just your email. Like it's super simple. And then when we come to do the on-chain credit cards, right? We will also need to do KYC if you want to use that feature. Just because, again, that's just how the legal situation works around those types of, right? Like it counts as basically anytime we touch fiat, we need to like KYC you, but also we won't do the KYC. Like our on-rampers do the KYC for us. And then I don't hold that data. Like I don't know who you are, right? Like I'm not asking them who that is. I don't have that data to give to anyone. It's just that the on-ramper is collecting that data for us and just administrating and making sure that you are compliant with like AML, KYC, and then depositing the money into the account. And so we tried to basically strike a good balance of keeping user data in the hands of yourself while only collecting what we need to, one, either be legally compliant or to improve the app, right? And that's that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And then kind of on like a more positive aspect, do you have any more, or do you have any plans for kind of models for incentivizing early adopters and new users and things like that?
Absolutely.
Airdrop.
I won't say that word, but you know, like I'm a big fan of how should I say this? Of community-owned products, right? I think that is the best way for a product to be. And so on this note, we are not VC funded. I have bootstrapped the majority of this product over the last almost 2 years now. We raised a small angel and family and friends round to do this, and I'm trying to raise a pre-seed, and I'm trying to figure out how best to do this because like I keep not wanting to, like I was maybe going down the VC route, but then not wanting to because I want this to be owned by the community, right? I want this to be empowered and not just some sort of like VC dump that when we do an eventual token, It's not something where VCs are using my users as exit liquidity. Like I really, really struggle with that idea. Like I don't want that. I'm a big proponent of, if I make my users a metric fuck ton of money, that you guys will evangelize me. And so that is more of the direction I want to go, right? Incentivizing people, but specifically for like revenue generating behavior, right? Like if you do things that, if you engage in behavior that makes Pistachio money, like you will likely be heavily rewarded in the future, right? That's more of the lines of where we're thinking we would go. And then in the beginning, we will also be, because we're gonna, we're partnered with Plume, and we're gonna have Plume earn vaults within our app. Those apps will also be eligible for the Plume airdrop, I believe. Don't quote me on it, but we're moving in towards that direction, right? Where you'll be eligible not just for whatever future incentives Pistachio can offer, but for them as well.
Maybe we should have Plume on the podcast.
Yeah, I'm sure Chris would love that. So I can definitely message them and get them in.
This is another question from King. I don't know if you want to ask yourself, but go ahead if you're able to. If not, I can ask it. Okay. He was wanting to know who are some examples of some on-rampers you were mentioning.
Yeah, and so if you look at OnRamp, maybe we can pull it up quick. I don't know. Like, if you go to onramper.com. So we use this, excuse me again. So we use this platform called onramper.com. It's really, really cool. And what they do is they do on-ramp aggregation. They basically do KYC routing. They do fiat routing. They do geo routing, multiple different on-ramps, different payment methods. And so actually, you know what? You guys want to see the demo? I can show you how on-ramp within this. Right?
Let's go to main. You're going to connect the iPhone here. Let's do it. This is a good time.
Get right. So I want to show you guys how this stuff, because people a big thing in the beginning was like, this is very ambitious. How are you going to do it? How are you going to build all this? And it's just like, dude, most of this is built. like we're just waiting to go live. We have to like replace one of our. Hold on. There we go. Right? No echo. Okay, cool. We have to replace our core AA module to make it more dependency free, and which will future proof us much more. And so, but once that's done, we're like ready to go live. Like this is, I'm super, excited for everything because we're so close to it. Okay. Everyone can see, right?
Yep. Good to go.
Okay. So here's Pistachio. Actually, I love the opening sequence itself. The little. And so you'll immediately see that it is more akin to. Sorry, what was that?
Who's missing the protect your nut tagline?
Yeah. I have to figure out where to slide that in. And so if you'll notice, it's immediately more akin to like a traditional like finance UI, so maybe something similar to like JP Morgan. And so when we come in here, I wanted to show you the add money. So the add money button at the top, right, talking about like simple language. And if we want to buy crypto, so this is on-ramper that works in the wild. And so you can see here, what we do is we support all these different currencies. And then based off the currency, let's say I want to buy like $500 or $509. It'll give me the price. Right now, we restrict to ETH, USDC, and USDT, and you can basically buy that and then swap within the app. But if our users want, I can add whatever currencies you want in here. So it's just entirely what you guys want. And if it's not already abundantly clear, I'm very like user centric. Like if I get a bunch of users who tell me they want something, like I'm gonna do it. Like I'm here to make like the sickest app for Ethereum and to like make this like what people really just want to use. And so, okay, so you get this
using Apple Pay, and that's amazing. On the sell side, does that go to a bank account or does that go to? Yeah, okay, there you go. You got all those payments. Fair enough.
So this is the buy side, which is in transparency much more robust right now. Like off ramping is like still very rough in crypto. And so I'm going to work on making that better. And so, right, you have bank, credit card, Apple Pay, Google Pay, debit, whatever it is, right? It defaults to Apple Pay because like I have an Apple device. If you have a Google Pay, an Android, it'll default to Google Pay, Revolut Pay even. And so we go in here and we can choose the on-ramps. And so some of the on-ramps we see, Top, Brigade, Connect, Sardine, TransFi, Alchemy, Banksa, Guardian. And then we have all the other ones. And so basically, if you have what it does is it checks the input currency, it checks the output currency, and it checks the payment method you want to use. And then it routes you to whatever on-ramp is the best rate that you'll receive. And so if you the first time you use that on-ramp, it will prompt for the KYC that I mentioned before, or the minimal KYC. And if you continue to use the same on-ramp, it will no longer check you with the KYC, right? So it's just a much smoother experience every time. If we go to the sell side, I believe it's a bit less robust. And so, okay, PayPal, credit card, ACH. Right now,
even ACH is something, right? Just
it is,
input an arbitrary routing number and account number, and off you go. Like that's much easier than like going through Coinbase and setting everything up through their app.
Yeah, well, yes and no. I will say, because I'm sometimes too transparent about this stuff, but I like to be transparent. So one of the things that's rough about our current offboarding mechanism is it would like create like a separate transaction that you have to like send outside of our app to in order to like send it to that like address, and it's not very user friendly because of that. So we're planning on making a native off-ramp integration with this module. It just takes development effort, and again, we're unfunded, so it's slow. But that is what high on our priority list to make on-ramping much smoother. And then another thing which is really cool is we have, if you transfer from an existing account, we have this integration called Mesh. And so what Mesh does is it basically you can link your existing accounts, right? So if you want to like link Coinbase, you can basically like it will securely link your Coinbase account. And I don't want to do it right now. But basically what it allows you to do is you can deposit directly from your Coinbase account. And I believe they're improving the modules so that you'll even be able to like, if you've already KYC'd on Coinbase, that you would be able to like purchase your crypto through Coinbase, but deposit it to Pistachio. So that's part of the, if you guys don't mind, I'd love to demo the rest of the app before we move into any more questions.
Sure, hit it. And then Peg City was just going to ask, this is pretty easy for you. Any chance you can get us Interac e-transfer for us in Canada?
Interac e-transfer.
And that's in the chat. Oh, nice. Maybe Shake Pay integration would be easier.
Let's see what we have for Canada right now. So if we do Canada,
yeah. Apologies and maple syrup. They do support that.
It's right there.
We have Interac e-transfer. Yeah,
there it is. There you go, Peg City. Good to see you in the chat, Peg City. By the way, big hugs.
Okay, very cool. I love if anyone has more country specific questions, happy to see if those work. But so one of the main features I'd love to show you guys. So we have this earn product, and I made it like really simple in terms of like, if like in like a fun UX, like if you click this, it changes like what your TVL is or APY is. And so if you go into the vaults, again, it's just super simple stuff, right? It shows you how much you have, allows you to deposit, withdraw, what the current APY is, and how much you've earned, transaction history. And then we provide like some risk details, right? So this vault, for example, is by Compound Finance. This risk level should actually be a risk level 1, not a we just don't have, this is like a new feature, so it's not like super robust. And so what it allows you to do is, because these are compound vaults, right? It's decentralized lending, but it's like the most, like, for those familiar with decentralized lending, it's probably the lowest risk yield that you can earn, and it's a variable yield. So right now it's 6.5, but like this varies between like I've seen it as high as 18%, and it's compounding interest, right? And so which adds a few points of interest in like the annual annual amount. And so this is just the MVP in terms of balances, but this is going to be a larger list of like highly curated options. It's not going to be super long because I want it to make it easy to see. And so it'll be like 5 to 10 different vaults of Matt, do you mind muting your mic?
Make Matt, you have a live mic.
Okay.
Deboot.
Yeah, so this is honestly one of my favorite features, and a lot of other wallets don't have this sort of this activity. But like if I want to do it, let's say I want to go here and withdraw, and I can do max and withdraw that, and it's all gasless. But I like leaving it in there because I'm earning interest, and it allows me to demo the app.
That's neat.
Thank you. And so, right, we show the total balance, we roll it up with the accounts. So if let's say I go into my smart primary wallet, this is again, a smart account. You see the Ethereum here. One UI liberty I've chosen is that, if you have a multi-chain wallet, this would show as like 3 different Ethereums, right? And if you click into it, it's actually, you can see, and the percent how much you have on each chain. So this is Ethereum on Arbitrum, Ethereum on Base, and Ethereum on Optimism. And I roll it up into one single balance to make it super easy for you to see. And then I have P&L details as well. These aren't loading for whatever reason. But usually it shows like your unrealized P&L, your realized P&L, what your average buy price is. And so it gives you like some cool stats that you probably want to see about like your purchases.
I like it because you got most of everything you need right in one screen. Like just without a ton of swiping or scrolling to get all the basic information.
That's the goal of everything. The goal of everything is to make it as like really stupid simple with like minimal amount of clicks to like get wherever you want to go. And so let's say you want to send, right? So you have like these people, there's a bunch of shout out to all of our beta testers. Kyle is my CTO. So let's say I want to send him money, right? Wait, did that send to him? Yeah, send to Kyle. And so I can choose whatever currency I want to send to him. So let's say I want to send to him 1 USDT. If I want, I can add a note. And we sponsor the gas here, right? So like if I swipe to confirm, it'll start to go. It'll give me a little, my buddy's calling me, sorry. What happened?
Let's bring him onto the stream.
Yeah, right?
Hey, Mom.
Okay. Error estimating gas price. Oh, I wonder what that does. Okay, sorry. We had a little error. I don't know if that was because because it didn't face ID me like it was supposed to, and so
because the call came in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bingo. Wow.
Boom. And so I just sent him $1 on Arbitrum. If I want to track it, I can. And gasless, free, and he'll receive a notification in his wallet, like bsmokes sent you $1.
And True Miller is asking in the chat, what sources do you use for historic pricing?
So for everything, we have a data provider called Mobula, and they're our full aggregated data provider. And so they provide us for everything.
Excellent. Okay.
And so let's say you want to like receive, we have a scan right now. We currently support Arbitrum-based Ethereum, Optimism, and Scroll. And we're going to be supporting like Plume, Mantle, honestly, any of the EVMs that are in like the top 10, top 15 are eligible, and we plan on adding to. It's just we have to make sure that all of our infrastructure supports it, and so it's sort of a slow add, but we'll get it all there. And then so this is what I was saying before, which is really cool. It's like on-chain encrypted messaging, right? And so this is by push protocol. So we didn't build this; we just implemented their protocol, and we're going to be their flagship mobile app of 2025. And so like here, if I want to do this, I have chat requests. Cool. Help test. And so boom.
Wow.
And again, all encrypted on chain. We have a lot of improvement to do here. This is very MVP, right? Like we're gonna switch it so that all the there's no public addresses. We're gonna make that so it's all usernames and easy to see and anti-spam, right? So you have to like be a friend in order to send a message and not just like any which random person can just send you messages, because I don't like that. Annoys the crap out of me on Twitter, where like I just have so many random DMs. Like this is not meant to be like a super social app, right? Like it's meant to be like more like privacy induced. And so I don't want like random people DMing you guys, right? Because that's 99.9% of the time it's just someone trying to scam you. And so if that's the case, like I don't want any DMs to go through. I'd rather that 0.01%, that 0.1% of the person be forced to like send you a friend request first, and then you accept it, and then they can message you.
Dan Arkest, I hope I say your name correctly. What about generating receipts for tax purposes?
Awesome question. Really good question. We don't have it yet, but our plan is integrating with a company called CoinEx, or similar. We're looking for the right partner for this. But yes, we will generate a per wallet, or per account rather, tax form for you at the end of the year. And so we have to integrate it first and still do it. But yeah, that's absolutely the plan, is to get that in.
Is there anything else? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. One of the final features I wanted to show you guys. So like this is like the account of the cross chain swapping, right? So let's say I wanted to add or swap, excuse me, Ethereum. This is Ethereum and Arbitrum, and let's say I want to put it to like Ethereum on Base, or even like USDC on Base, right? I can do cross chain swaps from here, and enter like whatever destination. So if I want to like have my one account and then send it to one of my other accounts, I can do that all in one transaction. What we're planning on doing though, so if I do this, when I go to get quotes, it'll give me the list of quotes for the different ways that I can do this. And so, okay, like, right, this is the recommended one, so I would do that. The plan though here is we're actually gonna change this screen. Instead of the select quote, we're gonna automatically select one quote and put it into this previous swap screen, and let you change it if you want to, right? Like you have the option to choose the quote, but the idea is that we're probably going to nudge the user towards the recommended fast, cheap option, just to save you some time and thought process. And then so if like I want to do this, all very like clear and simple in terms of like UI, and so showing our fees right now are 0.5%, but we're lowering that to 0.25%. And yeah, shows what you want to swap from where to where. We're also very transparent about the fees that we take. Like for example, if you've used the Phantom Wap app recently, they bake their fees into the quote, and so you actually can't see how much they're taking, and it's like a large percent.
That's not good.
And so it's like, yeah, it's a bit sneaky, and I don't love it. And so I prefer to be very clear in saying, okay, this is what you're swapping from to, these are the fees, this is how much you're sending, this is how much you're receiving. Boom, right? Like this, it's very clear, very transparent. We want to be, that the goal about the whole thing is I'm on the side of the user, that's basically the whole philosophy of everything that we do. I think that's pretty much everything. It's been pretty, like if you want to go here, for example, we have the privacy policy and the terms of service in the app. We make you have the discovery settings of searchable by email, phone, and contact, and that are off by default, right? So if you want to enable this to like make it easier for your friends to find you, you can do that. But by default, they're off to preserve your privacy. And then if you want to display your EOA wallet, you can do it there. We're going to have help built and customer support built into it. Right now, you can't change the language or default currency, but we're going to be launching with like English and Spanish, because we're going to be like a US LATAM based app. And so, but yeah, that's all that's working.
That's really cool, man. Yeah, nice job. That's a lot for a one-man wrecking crew. Well, you got what, two of you? You said your CTO's the cat, and then there's you.
My CTO's a freaking superstar, man. He's such a good dev. He built 80 to 90% of this app. We've had some like contractor help here and there that have helped us out, but like he's built the majority of this thing, and I mean, for any devs out there who is seeing this like a Web3 React Native Expo app and seeing everything that we can do and how fast and quick it works, like I think you already understand how quality of a developer he is.
That's really well done. Well, we went long on that, but man, it was worth it. You're an absolute rock star. I was so excited when we started working together in the back channels, getting the moderating stuff together, and then you were talking about this app, and we had one brief conversation. I'm like, holy cow! Like, it's so cool to have a mod on our Ethereum that practices and walks the talk of the protocol, and just really well done. I wish you all the best with that. If there's any other last minute questions, otherwise we need to get going on the Doots. All right, let's run through it. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the second monitor here. Thanks again, Brian. Hope you can stick around and be our color commentator. And as we go through these, it's pretty awesome. All right. If you could mute your hot micing a little bit, I believe. Thanks. Appreciate it. If you can't, maybe we can get a mod to not boot, but just a server mute would be awesome. Okay, thanks. All right, Walking Dead, moving down the list here. Oh, no, wait, we got to start at the top. Minimal Gravitas makes a toast to Ethfinance. This is our first dude of the week. Minimal Gravitas is a duder of 45. Happy holidays, Eth fam. Hope you've all been enjoying stuffing yourselves with quantities of mince pies and Baileys that you will regret upon eventually sobering up. Just wanted to touch base in one of the final few Ethfinance dailies to say that it honestly has been a gift to have shared the Ethereum journey with you here for the last few years. I have never found an open online community that has been so wholesome, enjoyable, and rewarding to be a part of, especially in crypto, where seemingly every other space becomes a zero-sum game of fake hype, manipulation, and general nonsense. Ethfinance has been a beacon of sanity and good conversation. I'm excited for the next steps as we move to our new home and, shepherded by the best mod team on Reddit, bring our special something to the wider Ethereum community. Long live Ethfinance. And that is Minimal Gravitas. Great post. That sums it up very nicely, I'm sure, for not only me, but for everyone else. User Walking Dead takes a minute to look at to read the world adoption. Let's see, it's kind of read world adoption. I think might be a misprint on that. And Walking Dead is a duder number 24. EthereumAdoption.com. Let's open this up. He said, just take a moment to look at this. Look at that list. Crazy going down. I remember coming to the Ethereum Reddits 8 years ago. And back then, we were dreaming about what is a reality today. The reality now is that everyone that sees the potential of blockchain and is taking it seriously is building things on Ethereum, which is making more and more people see its potential. It is absolutely amazing to see this unfold right before our eyes. The list will keep on growing of who is building on Ethereum. Besides the success of updates, developers, applications, dApps, TVL, investments, scaling, you can see the trend of more and more coming in. More and more institutions and banks launching tokenized funds, more and more creating layer 2s to be able to build on Ethereum through scaling. More and more are seeing the value of Ethereum with the decentralization and security it provides. When you take a second to see the trend and the direction everything is going, the conclusion is that the future of Ethereum is very, very promising. The ticker is ETH. Happy New Year, everyone. Looking at the groupings of the dates, that is such a banger post too. Look at just.
All right, toast to that, man.
Is it crazy?
It is. This is really good. Who is this? A Hani Abu website? Is EthereumAdoption.com a Hani Abu website? Let's see here. Hani Abu. If I just go there, I know it's going to go to his page. Let's just open it up. Why not? Man, he's got a ton of them, doesn't he? No, I don't see EthereumAdoption.com on there. Is this a magnet? I think this has got to be a Maverick that made this. I think I've seen this before in the daily. Okay, Walking Dead, nice catch. User Unthinkable Crypto starts a discussion about crypto tax accounting software. Oh, my favorite subject. Duder number 7, Unthinkable Crypto. I think maybe they were in the chat earlier. Oh, no, that's Untouchable 2K. Anyway, posting in both dailies. Yeah, this is actually the only episode that's ever going to be like this, where you have duders from Ethfinance from last year and this year from our Ethereum. This is the only hybrid Doots call we're ever going to have. It's kind of neat. With 2 moderators for both games. This is just neat to me. All right. Posting in both dailies about crypto tax accounting software. What site is everyone in the U.S. using to generate their safe harbor plan, transition plan, or digital asset allocation plan? Looks like Crypto Tax Girl and Crypto Tax Audit. Any better ones out there? Have forms for you to fill out. It seems like the 3 things you need to do before the first is, number 1, a document holdings across all wallets. Number 2, choose between specific unit allocation, if able, or global allocation. And number 3, if global allocation, choose the method. Highest cost allocated first, or lowest cost allocated first, or oldest allocated first. Seems like specific unit allocation is more complex, and both forms are for global allocation, which allow you to allocate, for example, the highest cost allocated first. Crypto Tax Girl says, quote, this method would allocate everything you own before 1/1/25 in order from highest cost to lowest cost. The highest cost lots would be allocated first to your assets on hosted wallets, then to your unhosted wallets in order of acquisition date from oldest to newest. This means starting in 2025, when the default accounting method switches from first in, first out, or FIFO, your sales, trades, spends, or transfer of assets owned before 1/1/25 will pull from your highest cost units allocated to each wallet and exchange. This approach will generally result in deferring gains and accelerating losses, unquote. Crypto Tax Audit doesn't seem to have a spot for step 3, and it doesn't seem like you need to assign your cost basis before the first, but you need to before your first buy or sell in 2025.
Wow, that was...
Yeah. Did I see something in the daily that something got delayed a year? I don't know if
apparently crypto tax reporting requirements were delayed to 2026, but I also don't think that that's entirely accurate. I think it was probably a very condensed and not like there's nuance to that, right? If they're saying that don't report your crypto taxes from 2024, like there's no way that that's what they're saying, right?
Yeah.
I think it's just more. I think they're like it's particular crypto tax reporting requirements by front ends that might be delayed.
Treebeard in the chat just says only the ordering rules in custodial account was deferred, not the rest of the new regulations.
Right, like you still have to report your taxes. Like that's, and I think there's a few good ones like Coinly and CoinTracker, something like that. That I've used. There's a few pretty good ones, but it's getting to the point where it's like the multi-chain aspect of everything is getting really difficult to report.
It's a mess.
And so that's why we want to build it directly into Pistachio with that other account, right? Where it's just like, man, you don't actually have to worry about doing all that BS. It's just we give you the form at the end of the year, you throw that in, and you're good.
That's a dream. good. And
Yeah,
you're building the dream, baby. Let's go.
that's the goal, baby. The Ethereum dream, the
Aiden,
dream theory, Ethereum dream. There's some word there that I'm not creative enough to come up with.
I've been to the shit post and I've seen the top of it. User Aiden Cairo drops daily DevCon 29, number 29, evolution of scams. Aiden Cairo is a Duder level 21. All right, so this has been kind of a neat deal that Superfizz started, daily DevCons, where each day somebody takes a speech from DevCon and then summarizes it in the daily and posts a reaction. And so it's like note taking. It's kind of neat. It's like a community tool. That's just kind of how we roll around here. Somebody comes up with an idea, resonates with a few people, they just form a group and rock and roll. So it's Monday, December 30th, 2024, day 29 of our DevCon Education Listen Along series summary. The speaker discussed the evolution of scams in the crypto space, focusing on end users. They covered various scam methodologies such as seed phishing, money doubling schemes, and drainer kits that exploit open approvals to drain assets. Monkey Drainer, Inferno Drainer, and Angel Drainer are examples of prevalent kits that have targeted users. The talk emphasized the importance of transaction simulation to educate users about the implications of their actions on the blockchain. Additionally, the speaker highlighted the sophistication of current malicious techniques and the ongoing cat and mouse game between attackers and security measures, with a focus on enhancing detection methods for malicious transactions. Questions. How can the Ethereum community work together to increase awareness among users about the various scam methodologies in the crypto space and empower them to make informed decisions while engaging in transactions on the blockchain? And number two, in what ways can advancements in transaction simulation tools be utilized to enhance user education and prevent falling victim to sophisticated malicious techniques targeting end users in the crypto space? Your mission, and this is always at the end, your mission is to consume the content, then comment with the insight on this thread and vote up other valuable comments. The primary goal here is community development through education. And then there's a link to the previous one, and then all of the DevCon talks ranked by views and the grand idea, which is the beginning. So it's really neat. It's kind of a cool little tool. And if you actually open this up on Reddit, oh, that was the talk. Go back to the Reddit link. If you open it up on Reddit and hit the permalink, sometimes there's threaded discussion underneath here, and then there's an ongoing deal. So it's really novel.
I've caught about 10% of those, like where I've actually gone back and watched the video, but I find the summary every day is very useful.
Yeah,
just a little bit of micro attention, so I can be like, is this really interesting to me?
Exactly.
And then if I can read the color commentary, from people, sometimes they'll draw some interesting points. And yeah, I think trying to focus on the entire conference is way too much in one day. Like a little digestible thing going into my tab backlog is more manageable once per day.
It's kind of like what this show does for all the content across our Ethereum and Ethfinance and stuff. Brian, you were saying? Sorry.
No, I love that they're doing. I spent my entire DevCon like running around like a madman, just like trying to get either like people to download the beta and looking for investors and all this stuff. And so I didn't have any time to go to any of the talks. And so to be able to see, I didn't realize this was like an ongoing endeavor. So I'm gonna have to go back and read every single one because man, I can't wait for the year I can just actually go to DevCon and just enjoy the conference and everything and not be running around.
That will never be a thing. We're always gonna be building something, so we're always gonna be at DevCon pushing something. That's never. I spent my entire time at satellite events. I was only at the conference hall proper for like, I don't know, maybe 12 hours total the entire week.
I feel that. And the conference center is always amazing. That's like one of the best parts about DevCon is like they put on a really, really good event, right? Between like whether it's the food and the drinks and the little booths and the ability to see things and the talks. It's like, Man, DevCon is always one of my favorite. It is my favorite event, just like hands down. Also, ETH Denver, which I'll be attending in. I'll be attending ETH Denver in February. JT, I believe, is going as well.
Yep.
And
See you
so
there.
we're seeing if hopefully we can if I can find some sponsorship funding to get a barbecue going,
Let's do
which
it.
would be freaking sick. So this is the inside alpha for any of the people here. I'm planning on throwing like a pistachio LAN party in Denver. And so if you're coming out to Denver, definitely hit us up on some of the Ethereum community to be there and at a more low-key event that's not clubbing. More so, meeting cool people and builders and playing some video games and hopefully in some badass barbecue provided by
I
JT.
can't wait, man.
So,
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we can get that going, and if that works out, I think we were talking about. there's a non-zero chance. I may kill myself doing it, but there's a non-zero chance I might be doing 2 barbecues in Denver this year instead of 1. And then, so we do one for the LAN party, because I think we were talking about maybe
he just like buys a food truck and goes around to conferences.
By food truck, you mean Chrysler freaking minivan?
No. I mean, we get some Octant funding. We raise like $20,000. We buy a food truck and we drive around to the conferences.
Good luck.
Setting up a food truck selling barbecue.
20,000 would be a piece of shit.
Didn't say it'd be a good food truck.
We could rent one. See if I can rent one.
Yeah, that actually is probably, but you're gonna need like snow tires because Denver in late February. You never know if it's.
Let's dial it back. Maybe there's already a barbecue operation in Denver that I could run out of one of their trucks. That'd be cool because they'd make money and they'd have all the prep ingredients, pay and stuff. Ooh, somebody just shut off my light up on the second floor. All right. I just turned it back on. So anyway, we'll know more as we get closer and let you guys know if any of the Mavericks or Ethereum nerds are out there. I'd love to meet up. So hopefully play a video game with you too. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
User Interweaver explains how the new U.S. tax laws might affect you. And Crumbum also has U.S. tax public service announcement. Interweaver's just an OG legend. They've largely been off of Reddit, but it looks like they're going to start coming back on our Ethereum, so that's cool. So Interweaver is a Duder 55, and I want to look up user Crumbum because Duder 3. So relative newcomer to the Doots list, bringing some alpha. All right, Interweaver and the U.S. tax laws. If you were already tracking your cost basis on a per lot basis, then this shouldn't change anything for you. You already have all the info you need. Same if you are not tracking specific lots, but we're tracking at a wallet level. For example, every time assets enter or leave the wallet, you recalculate the average cost basis for that asset in that wallet, distinct from other wallets' cost basis for that asset. Just keep doing that. Oh, this sounds like shit.
I saw that.
If you were,
it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. If you were tracking your cost basis for assets globally by recalculating the global cost basis for that asset, regardless of where you held it, every time you acquired more of it, regardless of which wallet account it was in, then you will need to improve your tracking to either of the 2 more fine-grained levels of tracking mentioned above. For stakers, to be honest, you really should have already been tracking at a per wallet or ideally specific lot level, if only to keep ETH with long-term capital gain status separate from ETH held for less than a year. But if you were lazy with your tracking, you will need to up your game. There shouldn't be any real staking specific gotchas there. Validators should each be considered wallets. For example, the ETH in them should each have its own cost basis that you track separately, or even the specific lots of ETH within it. And every time you receive a withdrawal or fee from a proposal, you need to either add a new specific lot to the withdrawal fee recipient wallet with that day's cost basis, or update the average cost basis for that wallet. Overall, this is a pretty reasonable change. The only people affected are those who were taking what I would personally consider to be somewhat inadvisable shortcuts with their accounting, and it just forces them to be more fine-grained. Note that I'm pretty sure there's a safe haven rule where you can take the cost basis of your wallets as of January 1st as a starting point. They won't force you to retroactively recalculate all your cost bases, just to track it going forward in the new year. Crumbum replies, long and boring unless you're a tax nerd like me. Here's a public service announcement. It's not that long. Don't tune out. Mom, keep watching on YouTube. IRS crypto cost basis rules are changing in 2025 away from universal cost basis to per wallet. While I haven't quite worked through all the implications, you can help future you by doing two things. Take a snapshot of your holdings as of January 1st so you can allocate your cost basis under the safe harbor rule. Choose and record your plan for allocating cost basis before the new year. There's no official way to do this, but various crypto tax sites give examples. I like Crypto Tax Girl for a breakdown of some of this and a template to record your plan. I've missed conversations about this if they've happened in Ethfinance before. While the new rules seem like they will add complexity, I wonder if the new rules might actually simplify specific identification methods. Since you can move the specific coins with your desired cost basis to a hot wallet to sell, my accounting software, Token Tax, does give me specific info on specific tax lots, but does not tell me which wallet each lot is in. If it did, it would make things easier. Token Tax Support says they're waiting for more clarity, aren't we all, on how the IRS will implement safe harbor rules before building it into their system. Though it would be helpful to know the tax implications of trades that happen starting tomorrow. The simplest thing to do, of course, is to consolidate into one wallet today, but there are plenty of reasons not to do that for security, accounting, and convenience. The TLDR, if you have more than one wallet, snapshot your holdings tomorrow to possibly save yourself some accounting headaches. God, this makes my head hurt listening to all this new rules. Anybody else got any opinions on that? Let me know.
It's such a pain. Although it's such a pain in the ass, but the idea of it moving to a wallet per wallet scenario is actually, I didn't really have too many concrete convictions on that until you just read that out, because it's some big brain stuff in there. Like considering keep your long-term staked ETH or long-term ETH out of it, right? It's like for tax purposes, that's actually amazing, right? Because in the past you had to all of your wallets contributed to the same cost basis, and so if you were trading, you were losing a lot of tax benefits of some of it, right? Like if you had a trading wallet and a different wallet, and it didn't matter. And so this is that's a really good strategy of keeping your long-term holdings apart from it. And even in the future, it's going to make it much easier from a tax accounting perspective of let's say you do use Pistachio. It's the tax form that we give you would technically be separate from everything else that you have. And so it should make tax accounting in the aggregate more simple. But that was a really good post.
Yeah.
Some good alpha in there.
Yeah, there's some bangers out there. All right. Logri the Bard, Tokenomics Explained, also a frequent contributor to the podcast. Logri the Bard compares blockchain superpowers over TradFi. Oh, God, buckle up. Here we go. When we first fractionalized the ownership of institutions or companies, we gave them a label, units we called shares. And we made them transferable in a basic way with a double entry bookkeeping on paper ledgers that we made copies of around the world, and which people notarized the authenticity of. The basic underpinning of stocks hasn't changed much since the first iteration. Granted, we digitized it and made it accessible to a wider audience, But the digital systems of today have essentially replicated these initial paper systems and inherited most of their flaws. So today I'll be writing about some of these flaws in the inherent benefits of blockchains and solving them, what we have built today, and what is coming next in the evolution of ownership and financial intents. Today, we live with a stock market with a T+1 settlement, which basically means it isn't even known who owns what at any given time. We live with a system with a trusted counterparties where naked shorting, despite being illegal, regularly happens. We live in a system that happens to shut down whenever it isn't a convenient time in New York City, despite serving users globally. That's before we even touch some of the more egregious abuses of power, like Robinhood, famously disabling the buy button on a certain stock when a bull run was inconveniencing some powerful people. One of the most amazing superpowers that blockchains have offered the world is one that we don't even talk about except in the most technical sense: finality. Fundamentally, a blockchain is just a consensus machine that outputs a time series of events that we can prove the authenticity of. Practically, what this amounts to is basically incorruptible ledger about anything incorruptible ledger about anything you like that anyone in the world can access and trust. Finality means that we know who owns what, and that once we know this, it isn't subject to change in the future except by the consent of the owner. It's a guarantee that you can build upon in a non-fragile way. TradFi has only ever managed to create the illusion of this. They only ever figure out who owns all of the stock retrospectively. A court can always undo a transaction, or counterparties involved in a transaction can fail to deliver. Anytime you get an instant confirmation of a trade from a Web2 app, that confirmation isn't real. It's only an optimistic estimate backed by the trusted relationships of a bunch of institutions you have no direct relationship with, didn't knowingly consent to use, and which could misbehave at any time. The difference between a Web 2 confirmation and a Web 3 confirmation is an entire court system. The rights carried with the ownership of the asset in Web 2 are extrinsic to the asset. If the bank wrongfully forecloses on your home, you are entirely out of a home until you take them to court, prove it was wrongly seized from you, and have the courts enforce your rights. That not only comes at a high cost, but also no guarantees. The financial system today has to not only pay the cost of the various middlemen, but also underwrite the execution and enforcement risks of every legal obligation we delegate to them. There are also, of course, countless examples where someone was legally in the right, but lost in the court system to someone who is better financed. Oh, bingo. Contrast this to DeFi. In DeFi, a lending protocol can receive an asset and generate a loan for you instantaneously. It doesn't need a court system to adjudicate the possibility that you didn't own the asset you deposited, that a bankruptcy proceeding a month later from some company you received the asset from might claw back the asset from you, or that the asset has been pledged as collateral multiple times. It has a rock-solid guarantee that the transfer of a token means that you and only you had legal possession of the token. Because there's nothing to adjudicate with a court system, a smart contract can function without having to know where you are in the world, so it can pursue legal action against you in your local court of law. Also, unlike TradFi, where there is a Byzantine maze of laws for intersecting jurisdictions, smart contracts work the same way for everyone, everywhere in the world. Just imagine how many lawyer hours will be avoided by this simple fact. This is a multi-trillion-dollar value add to the world. That is by the legendary Logri the Bard, sitting up damn near at the top at 161, if not second place on the list. Thanks, dude. Always good. It's always good.
Preach. Preach. What a good post.
You know, when you say the trillions of dollars in lawyer man-hour, that's what they don't want to be. They want everybody else's jobs to go away because of AI. They don't want their jobs to go away because of AI. They got to protect their legal things. So, you know, they need to make sure they have a fertile ground to keep being a lawyer in. And DeFi removes that.
It's really important that the rights of the asset are intrinsic rather than extrinsic to the asset. That is something I don't think that we really preach to TradFi enough. We preach like, okay, Bitcoin price go up. You know, everyone can have 1% of their asset portfolio holding Bitcoin or holding cryptocurrencies. It's a new class of investments, right? But we don't really preach the fundamental advantages, coordination that come from basically like finality, that come from guarantees the blockchain provides just due to different technological underpinnings. We're fundamentally different than how just double entry bookkeeping works, right? We're fundamentally not just based on the attestations of a couple people, right? And maybe some replicate copies around the world. We have a different technological underpinning, a different source of civil resistances and trust. We have, and due to that, right, we can remove a lot of inefficiencies that that TradFi should be interested in for much more than just buying ETH the asset. They should be interested in smart contracts because it protects them, right? It protects their holdings. It protects the agreements that every legal contract they write with everyone else that they sign, all the trust that they have to put into those, and all the risks that the failure of execution of those might entail. All of that goes away. It's like in computer science. I prefer a compiler guarantee. Right, you know, like when a compiler says that like 1 + 1 is going to happen, right? It's never going to, like, I don't even think that about what the possibility might be if I give this statement to a computer and then decides to just not execute it, right? Or it executes it incorrectly. Like I just don't even have to worry about that. And so what is a massive complication just suddenly vanishes from mind, right? And you're never going to miss it. So when we start to see not just tokenization, not just finalization, but rights, legal rights carried between different corporations enforced by blockchain contracts rather than the court system, right? And using that as the sole source of truth, not even backstopped by a court system, right? When we start to see bearer assets, for example, carrying the transfer of trusts, holding properties, and so you can transfer the trust using a token. Things like that are going to make the real estate system so much more efficient, right? You don't have to worry about your broker and your someone that's to go and check out like where the property is and all the inspections and all that like that. That is separate from the financial transfer of the asset, right? It's just something that's a lot more efficient than having to have two different sources of truth and having lawyers debate about like who signed what and when, and things can get lost and things can just get tied down in all kinds of delay tactics, right, for years. And basically justice delayed is the same as justice denied. We just don't have any of that, right? And it is a multi-trillion-dollar value add to the world, and it's just not being talked enough on the most primitive things that we offer, let alone the more sophisticated things we offer, right? Where it goes well beyond just finality, right? And what we reach consensus on doesn't have to just be the execution of a smart contract, right? A legal transfer of an asset. It can be governance. It can be value alignment. It can be, right? It can be a whole system of aligning the outcomes of our society with the values of its participants.
Yeah.
Right? We can trust so much more to this system because it has better underpinnings than what we should be able to trust to TradFi. And we're just working our way there, one brick at a time.
Yeah. Money, like the money Legos. That was the phrase that popped up in my brain earlier when we were looking at the Pistachio app. The money Legos. All the different you said the aggregate, you're the aggregator of aggregators. And it's like there's your money Legos, like all these. When that term came out, I don't know if that was a Bankless thing or who came up with money Legos. Maybe DeFi Dad. I don't remember exactly. Might have been Ryan Sean Adams, but it's like, oh man, that just in 2 words puts it right into perspective. Like the money Legos of buying a house right now with all the variables and all the paperwork that has to get shoveled by hand or fax or phone or email. And all these things land on somebody's desk, and it's got to wait till that person touches it. And it goes on and on and on. It's like,
right. I don't just want to digitize existing systems. I don't just want to lift them with all the flaws.
Check boxes like sequencing.
I want a fundamentally better, or original system to build these things on, right?
Yeah, I love it. It's good, man. All right, let's keep moving. Good shit as always, Logri, you freaking smart mofo. All right, Austin ST. I always joke that Logri, the board, he has to walk sideways in the room because that's how his brain fits. He has to get through the doorway sideways. It's great. Austin ST inspires us to cultivate what we want to see in our Ethereum. Austin ST is a Duder 73, also 1.5 with coup d'etat running the Astis relay, if you know what that is. All right, thanks for everything, Ethfinance. The new year is traditionally a time for looking ahead and deciding how we want to conduct ourselves in the upcoming year. Through resolutions or just self-reflection, it's a good time to dream about what we want to do with our time and who we want to be. With this community, we're simultaneously getting a more literal fresh start, an even clearer opportunity to build a sense of who we want to be from the ground up. There's no better time to start contributing the kind of content you want our new Ethereum home to show off to the rest of the world. Let's build a home with the best blockchain discussion on the internet, technically detailed but accessible to a broad audience. Let's use our position on the more prominent subreddit to welcome curious visitors, competently answer good faith questions, be humble and open-minded about Ethereum's weaknesses, and demonstrate intellectual curiosity about the broader blockchain space while establishing healthy policies, WRT concern trolls. What is that? Without regard to concern trolls. Let's establish a culture that encourages readers to participate, discuss their experiences, and share their knowledge. Whether it's someone's first DEX trade, or they just took a few hours to read through the documentation for a new identity protocol, or they want to express a controversial opinion on a new EIP, everyone should feel welcome and encouraged to write up their thoughts. There is no better time to start a new regular post series about something you care about. Give us monthly updates on the governance activity in your favorite DAO, or try syncing one new EL client every week, and share some impressions and metrics. Spy on the Solana subs, and each day tell us what's on their minds. I don't know. Let's make our Ethereum great, and happy new year. Courtesy Austin ST. Well said, dude.
I would like to, at this moment, echo something in particular that was in there about helping new users, right? Like we're the front page of Ethereum when it comes to Reddit. And there's a lot of noobs that come in asking questions. And there a post that basically it's inspiring me now to mention this was talking about, they were curious about like running a node for Ethereum and staking, right? And there was like a rather rude comment who mentioned, why don't you can just go Google this or and something like that. And it's like the sub exists for these questions to be asked, right? It exists so that these questions can be asked and answered by the community, where there's like no wrong questions. And so if someone comes in with a rudimentary understanding of Ethereum because they just, don't know that much better and haven't taken the deep dive, it's up to us, right? It's our responsibility to reply to these questions in good faith, to provide the answers, to provide the depth that they need, so that they can go ahead and take that later plunge themselves and learn more. And so, for all the people in here, for all the people that are watching this and that will watch this, please approach the sub with patience and kindness. That's really what we ask. Be constructive. A new rule that we have is be constructive. When people, whether or not they're trolling, just kill them with kindness, like respond in ways. And yes, maybe these things can be Googled, but they came to the sub asking the question, whether it's looking for the answers or just looking for camaraderie, because sometimes you want a human to answer the question and not ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And so please just be kind to the other people and answer the question. And that's, that's what we're here for. That's what the sub exists for. And so I really love that that dude that you just read.
Yeah, we have a good culture of conversion when you have people coming in that are let's just say they're Bitcoiners first and foremost. If they're at least engaged in the conversation and it's not every day coming in trying to throw a new zinger out there just to see how it lands. I've seen some people that have turned and finally decided that, okay, this community and what's being built is actually much broader than Bitcoin. I'm just using Bitcoin as an example. So one person I can go back and remember was anti-prosynthesis. For those of you who remember, anti-prosynthesis for the longest time was a very well-reasoned, I don't even like to use the word troll. He was a very well-reasoned critic. It was very hard to dispute what he was saying, but there were there was just enough cracks on the edge of the arguments that eventually, I mean, he flipped. And when he flipped big, and now he's blown up on Twitter, and he's one of the biggest ardent ETH maxis out there. And so, yeah, to your point, welcoming first is what Superfizz says, and being a good teacher and being teachable helps other people learn that are not even active in the conversation, because they can learn how to lead from a distance. If they decide to start posting, they already know. And I mean, to be honest, I say this all the time, there's no real free speech there wasn't on Ethfinance anyway. You know who the trolls are. They come in every day. They try to do the same zinger thing, especially when price down bad, blah, blah, blah. They like to they pile on. Man, I take notes on them. I got the receipts. It goes 1 day ban, 3 day ban, perma ban. They come crying in mod mail. I show them the receipts. If you want to try again, you're going to just have to make a new account. Just don't tell me what it is, because it's like you just try to help them out in mod mail. Like, I want you to be here, but you can't do this. We got other shit to talk about besides oh, look, the ratio. Oh.
And these people are operating in bad faith. Like, they're coming in with malicious intentions of either spreading FUD or misinformation, right? And there was a famous troll in the Ethereum subreddit that was left to their own devices for far too long in the principle of free speech. Which is it was sort of like the first domino to fall in the merge of Ethereum, of Ethfinance and Ethereum, was like the banning of American Scream, because everyone knew it was like, are we going to really alienate our own community? Because so many people left, right? But they're like, man, why aren't you guys banning this guy? Or why aren't you banning the trolls and other trolls? And it's become a hostile environment where we can't have our safe space to talk about Ethereum and the tech and everything, even though price wasn't to be talked about at that point, And so it was like, why are we allowing these trolls to run rampant at the detriment of alienating our own people?
Exactly.
It's like, and that was, I think, the first. That was good. And I took the pleasure in being the first one to finally ban him. The community.
The way I kind of understood it from Evan Van Ness was like, we've relied on the downvote button way too long. And it's like, yeah, exactly.
Eventually people just leave rather than downvoting.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, exactly. The free speech altruism.
And it's not that I want a safe space. Like, you can come in hostile with all kinds of facts and I'll engage with you. Right?
Yeah.
Once I've debunked that with one particular user and spent the time to try and educate them, I don't want them to come back 3 days later with the same points, and then 2 days later with the same points, haven't learned nothing.
Yes.
If they're not showing an honest effort to learn, change their rhetoric, change their concerns, or debunk me and change my mind, if they're not making any serious effort to engage with intellectual honesty, then okay, I'd rather we spend more of our community times on people that are. And so stop flooding the airwaves.
And I have found there's a lot of power in conceding points. Like if it's just like, okay, they're making a good point here, concede the point. And even go to their defense if other people that are, for lack of a better word, a toxic ETH maxi, you know, it's like even friends of mine, I'll be like, hey, you know, like just hear them out. I think the point is, well, you know, it's being well written here. Like, let's figure out on, you know, how we can keep it going though. You don't want the conversation to end in like a black and white, red, blue kind of thing. You want it to keep going. You just got it. Some points need to be conceded on, and some points it's just really hard not to. But as long as it doesn't get personal. If people just talk to each other like they're in the same room, you just walked into the same room face to face. Are you really going to talk this way to that person?
I've had some pretty hostile rooms, but
yeah,
I hear you.
You know what I mean?
The onus then moves to the community, right? To like dispel the FUD and the misinformation. And it's like when you leave the trolls for too long, it's okay, now we have to spend our time fighting the misinformation, which to a degree is okay, right? Like if they come in, and especially if it's prolonged and intentional, it's when it becomes a problem. But if like someone's coming in with like FUD that can be dispelled by the community, which is in generally good. Like I like to leave those posts sometimes, so like other people can see and understand the responses that are being given to this particular FUD in order to like educate the rest of the community. That's awesome, right? But when it's a prolonged
safe space versus right, I don't need a safe space. I'm totally fine with people bringing criticism or hostility. That's not the problem. It's when they aren't learning from the answers. If you come in and post in the questions in a new way, or I haven't seen it recently, I'm happy to pull some ancient wisdom from my mind on like, you know, private key security, or like, you know, the 25th word in wallets, or like difference between wallets, or like why gas fees are high, or trends on, you know, on L2s, or what's confusing to you about L2s, or next cycle or a couple like this year probably be based roll-ups and questions on these things, right? Fragmentation, liquidity fragmentation, Ethereum apps not talking to the developers. There's all kinds of fun. I mean, and the goalpost keeps getting moved, right? It used to be ETH will never merge, right? And then, oh well, you know, there's always going to be something that people that are going to champion their own coin are going to use for FUD, and the goalpost just keeps getting moved, right?
Yeah.
So I'm happy to engage on it a little bit on every point that they have, because, you know, it helps to test our thesis, and it helps to have the community see good answers, and we should be able to curate those good answers. But when it's just like the same dude, and I already answered for this for you 3 days ago, I'm not going to do it again. Come in with a different account at least, right? And then I'll cite you the other answer I wrote, you know, if it was recent enough and I can look it up. But if you're just dredging up old crap again and again with no effort to learn, I have no interest in exposing everyone else in this community to that every day. Because it just causes people to leave, right? Their spam filter is, well, this isn't the place I want to spend my day reading. Yeah. Like, don't shit in my home.
There's I kind of thought of this in the moment here. Ethereum's attack surface for FUD is larger than everything, because there's so many different apps and people and development and layers and L2. It's just an incredible amount of attack surface. Whereas if you think of Bitcoin and the number of arguments against it could fit on a 6-sided dice, you could roll that dice and have 6 of the main arguments against Bitcoin in one 6-sided dice. With Ethereum, you'd have to have a handful of 100-sided dice, like multiple 100 sides of dice, because you could literally make an argument against it in so many ways. You could reinvent same old shit in a different way so often. I think that's why like messaging is so hard with Ethereum on trying to fix things, because there's just so many things out there that it's hard to know how to argue different points. And that's why I'm hoping get our Ethereum with a big, like maybe we got somebody that just knows exactly about like, you know, what Gnosis is to a T, all the way down to being a DAO governance person. And they can talk Gnosis, you know, and then you got this guy over here that can talk, you know, whatever. You understand what I'm saying?
Someone joked on the EVMavericks Discord earlier today that I should make a Logri the bot and just train it, AI train all the responses. And have every time I see the old FUD, just have it. Rather than having me reply, just generate the reply and dump it there. Maybe get some Octane funding in order to generate it, and then let it loose on Twitter on all the Solana shills.
Agree the bot.
It's not just for anti-FUD though. It's actually a really good idea of doing for like we get a lot of repetitive questions, right? Like I need help with this, or what is this? And there's like a fundamental set of, FAQs, right? Frequently asked questions of people who are maybe newer to Ethereum, and so it could be really good to create an AI bot that is quick and swift in responding to helping to educate people or to fighting the FUD, to educating people on whatever.
Well,
whatever
I've got a lot of access to enterprise grade GPUs, so if we can get the good data set for it, and we can somehow figure out the governance over that data set as a community, right? So we have things that are incredibly neutral in terms of responses that have been vetted in a way that's above board, and we would like to have me make the model. I can then train the model on off hours and dump it somewhere, and then we just figure out how to host it, right?
Agree. How many terabytes of compute do you have under your thumbs at any moment?
You don't measure compute in terabytes?
Whatever.
I have 128 H100s, so that's around 6 million in hardware. And a lot of that is not used all of the time, just because inference is bursty around the globe. So there are hours where I could shove in training jobs into our ICF, where the opportunity cost of running that's relatively low. So if we could get some Octant or Gitcoin grant funding for something like this retrospectively, we could pay for the model training. We could figure out the hosting process for it. I can shove the model onto something like Morpheus, and then we can have, community funds come in and buy the inference on a per answer basis. It would cost you pennies, right, per answer. And
that is also why people, with the whole current meta of AI agents, right? And there's a lot of FUD that goes around with them of why do these need a token? And so this is sort of one reason, right? One historic great example of blockchains and crypto in general is the ability to crowdfund. And so potentially you can tokenize this AI agent, right? This dedicated AI agent that we train in order to be educational and anti-FUD and whatever it is. And that the whole model, I love that, the data model would be determined by DAO governance. And really creating this decentrally owned AI agent. Oh, and it could even be a lion. We can make it a lion.
Of course, it would be a lion. It would be funded by this DAO.
That would be
there you go.
Really cool. And then you launch on virtuals or whatever else is done, right, where all the base things are, and you make it that could be a really cool use case. And I think
if I'm grappling your brain, we can talk about it more, because as I said, I have the compute, we have the community, we can curate a good set of answers, we can train it on my compute, we can host it on decentralized AI inference platforms like Morpheus, we can hook that up to wallets managed by the community like the EVMavericks DAO, we can fund that wallet with things like Gitcoin grants, Octant, or from interest from the DAO's treasury, in order to have an agent that is always online and answering FUD. Right. We have all the Legos. It's a matter of the willpower and stitching them together.
Right. We probably need another leader or two to step in and volunteer to help execute. Right. That's always the ideas are a dime a dozen, but especially when it comes to decentralized organizations, it's you need someone to literally just step up and be yo, I'll take care of this. Right. And execute on it. And so I'm happy to help.
I'm providing resources, but I'm not leading.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I'm happy to provide brain resources, and so I'm happy to execute in some capacity. But realistically, we would need someone else to step up and be yo, I want to help run this.
Well,
good.
Shop around, as I said. We have all the pieces with all the stuff in this community. So if it's great, if this little brainworm, has gotten your head and you want to praise the absolute with us, then we can make this happen.
Maybe
this is.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe Hani Abu could whip up another site, give him some money.
Yeah,
who knows? I don't know how he has time for all this.
He's probably just a superstar dev, man. There's people out there who just can build things so fast. Like that's like his ability to ship is very impressive. But let this be like the public call to action of being like, yo, if someone wants to step up and help us build this thing, and we'll make a treasury around it and make sure that that person gets compensated, right?
Maybe Dude's podcast could chip in some dollars. We got a little bit of money. And then we have Logri the bot join the Discord call when
we don't see the podcast for it, right? The EVMaverick DAO has an education mandate.
There you go. It's a mandate. Right? Gotcha.
So if we can make a proposal to initially fund a wallet with some, like if we get the model hosted and we get an agent online, you just have to pay the agent for, being able to having the funds to pay for the inference. At the end of the day, someone has to pay electricity, hosting costs, this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So if you can get enough in the wallet to do that, then we can see if we can refill that wallet over time with, funds from Gitcoin grants and Octant. We could probably just seed it with like half an ETH to get started and see how long that goes and then review, right? But we'd have to, as I said, I can get training done in small hours, but I can, we would need to come up with how we want to manage the data set. There's a lot of things to figure out on it. It's just an idea, but it seems like, we could also do something that's kind of like, now that we just read Week in Ethereum news is sunsetting, we could probably do something that would scan the airwaves and make a concentrated summary to replace that, right?
Well, I did just see, actually, just while the podcast was going on, Josh from the Ethereum Foundation had commented on something, on Evan's post about them willing to 100% fund this Week in Ethereum news, at least for Andrew's salary. And so that they're down to do it. It seems like maybe there was like a miscommunication in the lack of a grant. And so would be really, really awesome to see if that goes through and that gets revived, because I know, and that's like Andrew's dream job, like he really loves doing that, and so would love to see him get funded to keep that project up.
And for the listeners who don't know, Andrew is ABC, is it Kotup or Kotup, something like that. He was hired as Evan's helper on Week in Ethereum, and he's been largely handling it for three years or so. And he's also a fellow moderator on our Ethereum, and in full disclosure, he's kind of, I didn't know the circumstances around all of that, but it's his dream job. He very much wants to keep it going, and I really hope they can keep it going. All right.
Yeah, me too.
Let's get these last couple done here. Doomfuzz Slayer, I love this name. Doomfuzz Slayer shares a great post by Vitalik on Twitter. Doomfuzz Slayer is actually a pretty old account. Duder number 12. Happy New Year. Good post to start off the year. Vitalik on X to Elon Musk. I admire your willingness to stand up and fight for freer movement of people. It's an important freedom that all too easily gets thrown under the bus. That said, I think it's valuable to turn down the temperature here on both tone of discourse and the social media ban hammer. Respecting free speech is easy when we agree with the speech and hard when we think it's awful. But the arguments for respecting free speech anyway are the same as ever. The ban hammer is controlled by one group today. It will be controlled by another group tomorrow, and every use of it legitimizes further use, and by the end, public discourse collapses into either balkanization, monoculture, where the winner will be the guy with the biggest hammer, not the guy with the best arguments, or constant war of all against all. And it's worth reflecting on just how much tone of discourse has fallen here over the past couple of years. I feel like a lot of people have been okay with rising aggressiveness because the target of aggressiveness was one faction that they disliked. What? But once that beast, somebody's got to mute. Thanks. I feel like a lot of people have been okay with rising aggressiveness because the target of the aggressiveness was one faction that they disliked. But once that beast is summoned, its nature is to look for new targets. And even if you approve of the first target, you may not approve of the second or the third or the fourth, as many people have been finding out this week. Literally, they came for the communists. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. This isn't the kind of mimetic beast we want running the show when we're entering an era of dangerous global political competition and rapidly improving AI. The role of leaders in setting the tone is really important and can be used to great good or great evil. It's not wartime mode that will get humanity to Mars in one piece. It's something brighter, and we should get into that mode today. And that is Vitalik to Elon Musk on Twitter. It feels good. But yeah, there's so many arguments. You could even say pre-Elon about Twitter as well. So I don't know if anybody wants to expound on that. But I like the post. In general, I like what the tone is. I agree to an extent, but I feel like there were some massive flaws at Twitter before Elon Musk, and there's massive flaws with it now. Evan Van Ness says goodbye for now to week in Ethereum news. New sub, who dis? Goodbye for now, week in Ethereum news. And this is, of course, his Twitter post. Look at that. I'm the 1,000th like on that. I did not realize. Oh, I'm on a different account. Okay, good. Good. It's a bummer to see him go, man. But I think it was kind of already in the making for a while. He had been talking about deprecating Week in Ethereum news for, I don't know what all the reasons were, but I think he said something as far back as like February, something along the lines of once Ethereum gets big enough to take care of itself, I don't think I'll need to be doing this anymore, something to that effect. But I don't think that included Andrew. I think the idea is that Andrew wants to be continuing to run it. So I desperately hope they're able to get that sorted out so he can get back at the wheel with it and keep it going. I know that was such a big, just a big thing for the Ethereum landscape over all these years. I remember when Evan was, he and I were on our Ethereum and ETH Trader a long time ago, and I was there when he started that. I remember that. I actually did a voiceover for the intro of it as I was pitching an intro to the podcast. At that time, he was going to do a podcast, and ended up not doing it. This was years and years and years ago. And I wanted to do a voiceover, something kind of similar to this, honestly, where I would read out the Week in Ethereum news as a podcast. And he was fine with it. The problem was consistency. And then it seems like Ethereum was kind of easy to talk and speak at one time. But it's very hard to speak now with all the technical jargon. It just got way, way beyond what do they say? You get out ahead of your skis, something like that. Yeah, that's what happened. So I decided to back off of doing it. All right. Let's see what we got here. What did he put in this final Doots here? Final Doot of the week, the off topic. Let's see. Monkey82, top 10 albums of 2024. What did we got here? Are these like NFTs, or these were I don't know what he did. Are these actual albums? Huh. So the top 10 albums? Those
I saw Eilish, so that must be. But I don't really know most of these people.
I don't know any. Is this all AI shit? Oh, there's a butt. I was wondering how soon it was going to be until we saw a butt. Okay. Well, I guess that's the top. Let's open it up. See what we got here. The Mariah. Oh, it is music. Okay. So, and it goes to the Bandcamp. It looks like these are all maybe Bandcamp links. So if you're looking for some music, these were the top albums according to Monkey82, who's already a very eccentric character, has doubled down and actually got his own little personal list of albums here. So a lot of ladies. Looks like he listens to a lot of ladies. So good on you.
It's music.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, that wraps up this show. Brian Smocovich, PistachioFi, my friend, dude, this is going to go down in history as for several things. Number one, it's the only Doots show that features the last Doots of Ethfinance with the new Doots from our Ethereum. It's also the most people we've ever had on Discord. And I was looking at YouTube. It was the most live streams of people on YouTube. I'd say this show's been a success. I think your product is amazing. I cannot wait to continue this journey moderating with you on our Ethereum. And we need to get some milestones, man. Let's get you back on here. Hell, if you want to help co-host from time to time, that'd be great too. If you got nothing else going on Fridays, to have you here as a fellow moderator, get 2 moderators on camera. If you're willing to keep that toupee glued down just right, we'd love to get you on, and we can talk after the show. I think it'd be a lot of fun. We've got ETH Denver coming up. There's going to be barbecue at some place at some point. It looks like you're going to have a possible land party. Who knows where our paths are going to cross again in the real world, and hopefully at ETH Denver and beyond.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you so much for all those kind words, first off. Thank you for having me up here. It's been great. I didn't realize we were breaking like a viewership record. Hell yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Special shout out. Yeah. Literally everyone.
Yeah, I see like in Discord here, Dr. ETH is here, Bermansky's here, Bagel Daver. I mean, it's just 12 meatballs, wolf parking. These are some OGs that have been around the space for a long time. And, you know, just onward and upward with the podcast. Episode 93 is in the books. Tricky Troll has been maintaining the Doots for the last 980 some. He's going to be crossing 1,000 daily Doots writing. So it's a team of people, man. It's a real team of people that put this together, and I'm excited, man. So thanks for being such a great helping hand to get us across. I'm serious, guys. If you don't know the inside baseball to this, I was contacted by phone and talked to Evan Van Ness for a couple of hours, 2 days, 3 days in a row. And then he just like removed a bunch of moderators that were dead weight, not doing anything, brought in 5 of us, and it was like, hey, we dropped our bags off in the lobby and started eventually talking on Telegram. And, you know, I felt like the current moderators that were behind it was just like, it was kind of a whirlwind. And Evan said, I'll be here for about a month to help the transition. And then he left after 24 hours. It's like, hold on, dude. Oh man, we had another phone call, but it's all good. It's just been great getting all these things together, bringing Ethfinance to the daily. We got business on the front page with Ethereum core content. This is the catalyst, man. I feel very good about it.
We're making Ethereum great again. We're uniting the community, which is, in my opinion, so incredibly important, right? We all need to be on the same page. For too long, the Ethereum community has been like infighting with each other and fracturing. And no, man, we're all on the same team at the end of the day. We're here for the same reason, and to better the technology, and we're here because we believe, right, in this technology. And so we need to unite, and I think this is just the start of it. And they also, they have podcast rooms at ETH Denver, so we should record a session there live. They have like, that way we can like be in person and film it, and that'll be a really cool
That's
thing.
an idea.
I would love to come back.
I was on Rocket School ETH Denver a year ago. So they definitely have that, and I think we can get that. They're
absolutely.
Like they're not overbooked either. There's usually available rooms. You do have to reserve them in advance, but we know our time.
Yeah, and I'm familiar with like the whole crew that runs. I'm friends with the whole crew that run ETH Denver, and so I'll just hit them up and schedule something and get us a reservation. It won't be a problem.
Excellent. Well,
see you there.
See you there. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. Stick around after the live stream because we continue the party in the hotel lobby on Discord for a bonus hour of popcorn. It's a fun place to let loose when the parents aren't watching on YouTube. Hi, Mom. On behalf of Ethfinance and the EVMavericks DAO, my name is JT. Cheers and big hugs from Kansas City.